Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies, and today I'm going to tell you about some of the best 2020 release movies you can currently catch on Netflix. That's right, folks. These are not only new releases, these are all movies released inside of 2020. These are also lesser known movies. These are not necessarily the big ones that Netflix released or other people. These are ones that maybe slid in under the radar, but that are great watches that you can currently catch. This video is sponsored by CyberGhost VPN, which can help you unlock more movies with your current Netflix subscription, but I'll tell you more about that later in the video. Let's go ahead and start all the way at the back of this list with my number 10 pick, The Decline. Now this one is from Canada and it is a Netflix original, at least it is here in the US. It is French language primarily. I believe there's a little bit of English, but you're essentially going to be reading subtitles or listening to the dubbed version, which I have done, and it is not too bad. This is about a group of survivalists or preppers that meet out in the wilderness for some survival training. And this is, how to grow your own food, how to prepare, how to live in the cold weather, how to make bombs. Basically, people that are ready for the decline of civilization. They're doing this basically a training seminar, and this is something that does happen. This is something people do, but in this particular case, things start to get a little bit hairy, to say the least, and people start realizing when shit hits the fan that they don't necessarily have the same values or the same ideology as everyone else in the group, and things come to a head. This is a pretty violent movie, but it's not fantastical, it's not really over the top, but it does have some really intense moments, and it is a survival movie. It gets very intense and fast-paced in the second half. So even though it's all the way at the back of this list, it's a prime example of the type of stuff that's featured on this list because it's a pretty great Netflix original that just didn't really get any buzz that nobody has been talking about. My number 9 pick also fits that exact same description. It's called All Day and a Night. Now this one perplexes me a little bit because this hit Netflix right around the time all the Black Lives Matter stuff was going on, and it's a predominantly black cast, black writer and director. This is about a young man sent to prison. His father, played by Jeffrey Wright, who's one of my favorite actors, is also in prison. So you get that dynamic, and really the trailer seemed to suggest that that's what the movie's about. That's actually a minor part of the movie in my opinion. This is more of the story as to how this young man became incarcerated at such a young age, and the fact that it is about a black man being sent to prison for murder, because he definitely does kill somebody in the very beginning of this movie, but you learn why. I think maybe because of that, the press didn't really want to get behind it at that time, but it still is a fantastic story, written and directed, black creators, black actors, so I feel like it's something that maybe should have been supported. And while it's not like a life-changing movie or anything, it did remind me a lot of movies like Menace to Society, which I think just left Netflix, Boys in the Hood, classic movies like that. While I wouldn't say this is as good, it falls into the same family, and I enjoyed it because of that. Now, The Debt Collector 2 is a sequel, but I honestly do not think you need to watch the original to enjoy this one, even though the original is on Netflix. The sequel, in my opinion, is much better than the original in a lot of ways, and I liked the original, but the sequel has a more polished look, it's glossier, I think some of the performances are stronger than they were in the original. And now this is a Scott Adkins film. And if you don't know, Scott Adkins has a long pedigree in movies with stunts and fight scenes and all sorts of things like that. But he's been pumping out movies that are lower rent, but really surprisingly good. No pun intended, they really do punch above their weight. Avengement was one that I've recommended on the channel that I know my audience loves. I do think Avengement fans will dig The Debt Collector 2, and like I said, you can watch it, or you can watch the original, but if you do watch the original, please note there's a weird thing that happens in the original that sort of gets erased in the sequel, and I think that, as weird as that sounds, they did a good job handling it. I thought this was a fun movie. It's kind of a throwback movie. It feels almost like something from the 70s, but it's fresher. And I dug that. I thought it had a cool vibe, and it just did not forget to be fun. These types of movies really just try to come up with an excuse for the main characters to kick as much ass as possible. And I think that this series does a good job of doing that without it being cheesy or stupid, and keeping it fun and never getting too serious. Okay, looking at my list, I'm making a last-minute adjustment. I've got 2 movies from South Korea that are Netflix originals, and I'm swapping their placement on this list right here as I'm talking. So my next pick is now #Alive, which I did feature on my horror movie list, which just came out last week. There's a link to that in the description. But this is one of the better zombie movies I've seen in a while. This is about a young man who notices a zombie outbreak suddenly taking place while he's in an apartment. He's alone. Everything turns to chaos, and he's essentially marooned in this apartment and begins running out of food, starts hearing scratches at the door, tries to figure out how to survive with basically nothing. He's got a drone that he's able to sort of send out and sort of survey the area, but he's essentially trapped. And I liked the different angle on it. For so long, zombie movies are like, let's do something different with the zombies. Let's make them fast. Let's make them explode. Let's make them whatever. But #Alive took a different take and put the main character in a different situation than you're used to seeing, and allowed different scenarios to play out because of that. And I dug this movie a lot for that aspect. And the reason there are several on this list that are foreign languages is because some of the better Netflix original movies to have been released this year have been foreign, but they have done good dubbing or are just well worth reading the subtitles for. And on that note, my number 6 pick is called Lost Bullet. This one is French language with, again, good dubbing, but this one feels almost like a grittier but more grounded spin-off of the Fast and Furious series. This is about a mechanic who fixes up cars for heists. He's put in jail, then he's pulled out by like a special task force to help dress up cars, police cars, to help hunt down robbers and things. So they're really reinforcing cars, building them to crash in this movie. And what makes this movie stand out is all of the stunt work is real. So you're seeing real crashes, you're seeing real debris fly, you're seeing real fire. And I don't just mean fire in the background, I mean like a car literally on fire with the flames sort of whipping into the driver's side window as the main actor in the movie, who's also a famous stuntman, is driving it at actual high speeds, not sped up film. There's stuff like that in this movie. There's a couple of fight sequences that aren't like well choreographed or anything, they're just brawls, but they play out really well. It's kind of a badass action movie that's over the top in its concept, but feels really realistic and grounded in its delivery. I love that element of this movie, and it's definitely one a lot of people missed, and if you like action movies, it's definitely one you should check out. So I mentioned, the fact that there's some foreign films here, but what if you're in a different country and you can't watch all the movies I'm talking about here, or you're in the US and you want to just access more big blockbuster American movies that they cannot really afford to put on Netflix here in the US? It'd be great if there were a service that would allow you to access Netflix as if you were in Germany or the UK or Australia. And today's sponsor, CyberGhost VPN, does just that. Like all VPN services, they keep your web browsing secure so that nobody can see not just what you're up to, but so that the government can't survey you, so that foreign governments can't survey you. And it just keeps all your data secure, your finances, all of that, keeps everything secure. All VPNs do that to a certain degree, but CyberGhost also has specialized servers for specific streaming services, not just Netflix, other streaming services in other countries, allowing you to access what people in those countries are able to see on Netflix and other streaming services. It's awesome. In addition to that, they have a 45-day money-back guarantee, so if you sign up and you don't like the service, or you just find that you're not using it or finding movies that you like, you can cancel it and get a full refund, no questions asked. They have fantastic 24/7 customer support in case you need help getting it set up on any of your different devices, like your smart TVs, PlayStations, mobile devices. Speaking of devices, you can use it on up to 7 different devices at the same time. And it's all the different types of devices you're used to using. Right now, my viewers can pay as low as $2.75 a month. That's less than $3 a month. That's less than the cost of a movie rental to access way more movies with their existing accounts. So check out the link in the description, see if it's a right fit for you. I know it's a right fit for me, and I know it's a right fit for a lot of my viewers because you guys tell me about it, which is why I continue to keep them as a sponsor. And I appreciate all of you signing up for their service because that has helped out the show. But speaking of the show, let's get back to my top 5. Okay, so earlier in the video, I switched #alive, which was currently at this placement, with Time to Hunt, again from South Korea, and really a fantastic heist movie. The more I thought about it as I was looking at it, I'm like, no, I really like Time to Hunt better, even though I really dig #alive. Time to Hunt is this near future where society is beginning to collapse, there's a lot of crime, and you've got a group of young men who decide to pull off a heist. Money doesn't work the way it does now, so the heist is complicated for that reason. But what I really dug about this movie is the heist takes place very early on in the story. You get all the planning like you typically do in a heist movie, but they execute it before the halfway point, and then you get the aftermath, and that is way more exciting in this movie than the actual heist. I was blown away by how this one just kept going. I remember watching it being like, all right, we did the heist, now what? And the movie delivers beyond that point. I really, really enjoyed this one on a lot of different levels. There's a lot of action in it, but again, kind of like Lost Bullet, the action, even though it's kind of a fantastic idea, it feels fairly grounded all the way throughout. As you know, 2020 has been just a shit year for theatrical releases, so there haven't been a ton of really good family movies released this year. In fact, a lot of the ones Netflix has been putting out have been pretty terrible in my opinion, but The Willoughbys is one of the best ones I've seen all year. This one actually reminds me a lot of Wes Anderson movies, specifically The Royal Tenenbaums. It's about a group of young kids who want to get rid of their parents, which sounds awful, and it kind of is, but their parents are terrible. This reminded me a little bit of that movie Matilda from the 90s. I know some of you know what I'm talking about. It's got a beautiful animation style, it's funny, it's artistic, it's got a good message to it ultimately, it's got a good spirit and some good heart, it's got a little bit of attitude to it. Ricky Gervais voices this cat that's a narrator that's got a really good sort of almost dark sense of humor, but not too dark for kids. It's just really enjoyable. I've got 2 very young kids, they love it, and I really enjoy watching it with them. Now, one of the newest ones to get added to Netflix is called The Paramedic. So I know a lot of you probably haven't even had a chance to check this one out yet. This one feels very much like a Hitchcock movie in a lot of ways. It's very dark. It's about a paramedic who becomes paralyzed, which is kind of important for the movie, but he is a horrible human being that does some horrible things from the confines of this wheelchair. And you will learn very early in the movie how shitty this guy is. And this paramedic character is performed really, really well by Mario Casas, who was the star of The Invisible Guest, another fantastic sort of hidden gem, twisted movie that is available on Netflix. And then this was also written by one of the writers of The Platform, another Netflix original movie that's Spanish language that is fantastic. So if you liked either of those 2 movies, I think you're really gonna dig The Paramedic. If you love old school Hitchcock movies like Rear Window and Vertigo, I think you're gonna really dig this one too. Now my number 2 pick is Where It Is because I like it. It's my number 2 pick, but it is probably the most known one on the list. But I'm Thinking of Ending Things is directed by Charlie Kaufman. And for those of you that don't know, he wrote Being John Malkovich, adaptation, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and he's directed a few movies, all very weird, but considered very, very good stories. And he's emerging as a very good director as well. And I was honestly surprised that his latest film was a Netflix original. I think that probably has something to do with COVID shutting down all the theaters, but fans of his definitely sought this movie out and watched it as soon as it released. But if you weren't really aware of him, you may have overlooked this one. Now, I do have to say, the beginning of this movie starts off extremely dry, and that dryness sort of carries throughout, but after you get to a certain point, things get really weird. This one really gets very bizarre and kind of turns into a fever dream. That's all I'm going to say about the weirdness of it, but it's really well acted by a handful of really fantastic actors, including Jesse Plemons, who I absolutely love. Toni Collette, I think, maybe gives one of her best performances in this movie because of how weird the nature of this movie is. She's required to do some bizarre things character-wise, and she kills it. This one's based on a book by the same name, by the way, but on paper, the concept of this one is so strange, it doesn't sound like something that would work, and somehow Charlie Kaufman managed to make it work. He almost lost me multiple times, but I managed to sort of hold on to it. Fair warning, this is a very bizarre art film. If that doesn't sound like you, you may not want to watch it, but if that sounds like you at all, this is a surprisingly surprising movie. Now, my number one pick is not a Netflix original, but it was just added here at the beginning of October. It's called The Outpost. I thought this was fantastic. It was way better than I expected. Now, it features a pretty stacked cast of really decent actors, but this is a true story of an outpost in Afghanistan that got really hammered hard. It was in a very dangerous location, and the movie, while I thought it was going to be about one major event, like one major incursion, that's in there, but it's maybe half the movie, and the other half is a lot of other little events that occurred. Some of them kind of funny, things that the soldiers are doing sort of to stay busy in this base. Some of them are tragic, and they're all true. This is based on a true story, and I felt like the production and the actors and everything took this movie very, very seriously. Now, the comparison can be made to movies like Lone Survivor and Black Hawk Down. You are going to see maybe some fake explosions or, smoke, things like that. But a lot of the bullets and stuff in Black Hawk Down are fake too. They just had more money, so you don't notice it quite as much. However, I do think they delivered really, really well with The Outpost. There's some long takes that look really good. Like, there's nothing wrong with the production value. I'm just sort of tempering expectations because while I can compare it to those other movies, they did make this with a lot less money, and it does show a little bit. Everything was delivered well. The characters are really well fleshed out. The action is chaos, but really kind of controlled chaos. I was able to keep track of what was happening, even though it felt like chaos, and it kind of felt like you were in the middle of everything that was happening. Just, again, a surprise of a movie. I really did not expect this to be nearly as good as it was. Those are some of my favorite 2020 movies added to Netflix this year. Let me know what some of your favorites have been. Also, help me thank the Patreon supporters in the comments below. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, there's a link down there. There's also a link to become a channel member. I create different movie reviews and lists for members only. So if you don't just like my content, you love it, and you want more of it, you might want to become a channel member as well. However you choose to support the channel is greatly appreciated, even if it's just liking, commenting, and sharing. But I will keep making videos like this as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for watching this episode, and you will see me on the next one.